Hello everyone, my name is Holly Agar and I'm the author of the novel Out of Touch. In today's video, I'm going to talk about what it's like to write during this pandemic. And I'm also going to go over some of the strategies that I've used to help me cope during this very difficult time. I've spoken to a few other authors on Twitter, and we've all been saying the same thing, that there's this idea floating around that during this lockdown, during this pandemic, it's the perfect time to write that book. But actually, our current circumstances are far from ideal. Some writers have to look after their children in times normally reserved for writing. I think we're all, to some extent, having to deal with a sense of loss and grief. We might feel uncertain about our health, about the well-being of our loved ones, uncertain about our jobs. We're just missing our friends and our family. So there's a lot of different challenges that we're all having to face during this lockdown. Even having outside space, some of us might not have a garden or any access to outside space from our house. And it's just a very strange and unusual time where everything seems new in an uncertain kind of way. So needless to say, this idea of the lockdown as being the right environment in which to write your book is basically a load of rubbish. However, I've found a few things really helpful in getting me back to feeling at least eager about writing. There was a period of time during which I hadn't written for weeks, and I'm only now starting to work again on my second book. And I'm going to share with you some of the strategies I use that helped me return to creative writing. So step one, I've allowed myself to feel all the different emotions, whether that's anger or grief or just feeling helpless. I've made it a point to let go of self-judgment and to allow those negative feelings to sort of ride the wave. I've adopted the stance that I'm doing my best and that nothing is really normal under these circumstances. And so I've let myself off the hook to a certain extent, so to speak. I haven't added another layer of frustration to what I'm already feeling by thinking, oh, well, I should be over this. I should get back to writing. I let myself off the hook because it's just such a strange time for all of us, and it's all very unpredictable. Number two, one of the most useful things that I've done for myself is to unplug as much as possible from social media. Because when I come across tweets about what's going on, I inevitably feel a lot less positive than I did before logging on. Sometimes it can feel cathartic to connect with others and share stories and commiserate about what's going on, but for me, I always end up feeling worse. An author friend actually gave me a very useful tip. She said that she's been able to mute keywords on Twitter so that those tweets with those keywords will not show up on her timeline. And I took her advice, and it's been really brilliant because most of what's coming up now in my timeline has to do with writing and books. So it's been really helpful to use that tool. The third thing that I wanted to say goes along the same lines as social media. I've tried not to look at the news more than once or twice a day. It may feel like maybe you're being apathetic by looking away, but really, you're still generally aware of what's going on and what the latest advice is, but you're also looking after your mental health. I know that for me, it's too easy to fall down a rabbit hole with the news. So I found placing restrictions on the amount of times that I log on to the news and at what times of the day I do that have really helped me. I absolutely avoid reading the news a few hours before bedtime so that I can have a good night's sleep. It's so important for the brain to rest, to recharge. And so I'm very adamant about protecting that time of sleep, and I don't check my phone. If you are eager about getting back into writing, consider starting with a fresh project, something new. Something new that feels exciting. A short story perhaps, or a piece of flash fiction. Something that feels achievable to you, that makes you feel eager and excited. For myself, when I was thinking about returning to my second book that I had started writing many months before, I didn't go back to it straight away, as in I didn't start writing where I left off. I started to think instead about the bigger picture of the story. I love thinking about the big themes, the ideas of the book. I love planning and brainstorming. So I gave myself a few days of just outlining, looking again at what the main ideas behind the book is, and I found myself building the excitement, and it basically led me to being able to return to the part where I'm writing the book. So do the things at the start that make you feel eager, and then the rest will sort of hopefully follow. If you can't write at all, then try and read. You're still building your writing muscles to some extent when you're reading. It's a very important part of my process to read. So any chance I get, I try to read. But again, it might not be possible for you to read for the same reasons mentioned. You might be looking after your children now, or just you're not in the mood because you just don't feel like it, and that's okay too. I've spoken in a previous video about the importance of my meditation practice and how it relates really intimately to my writing. I meditate every morning for 15 minutes, and it really helps me focus my attention. So I'll focus during this time on my breath or just some benign noise in the background. And it's basically me training my mind to focus deliberately rather than just following a trail of thought. I've really found that I'm reaping the benefits now of regularly meditating. I've actually upped my meditation to include an early evening meditation as well. So I feel recharged throughout the day. I found that if you can't easily get outside, like I don't have any outside space, then consider doing a virtual nature walk. So I've been able to find on YouTube, and I'll link below in the comment section, some videos in which, you can't see the person, but they're walking through woodlands. And it feels like you're walking through the woodlands. I found it a great way to exercise, but also just even the bird song has been really helpful to me. I live on a busy main road, and so hearing the birds, the sound of a babbling brook, the wind in the trees, all of that has been really helpful in helping me in getting me to feel more at ease, calmer in my present situation. Something that I've alluded to at the beginning of this video is to really just be kind and patient with yourself. This is an exceptional time, so give yourself a break. If you're not able to read, if you're not able to write, just relax, because it's just so difficult. I can't even really speak about it without pausing every few seconds, because it's difficult to put into words. We're living it. We're in it right now. I found that it's really helped me to watch shows and films that make me laugh. I've started watching a show called Grace and Frankie, and it's been brilliant. It's made me laugh a lot. I think it's really well written, and it actually has got me feeling excited about writing again. And it helped me find some solutions to some of the issues I was having about my second book. So I think remembering that we're not alone in this, that we're all sort of going through some kind of loss and grief. And I know as creatives, we are particularly struggling with, with the writing, with getting back into that. So you're not alone. If you want to leave any comments about how you're coping with the present situation in the comment section of this clip, please do so. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you for joining me today, and as always, be kind to yourselves.